today. We will start with some Browns news after a quick word from FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get it on the action than with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth-quarter comeback, you can stay in on the action. And if you're looking for bigger payouts, you can combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets if their first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to join today. That is FanDuel.com/UCSS for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. We start, though, with the NFL and a report from Jordan Schultz yesterday, which indicated that Matthew Stafford could be had for a specific price. Steve, if you want to take tag for full here, this is from the Schultz report, and Social News Desk sucks so much that it blurs out Jordan Schultz's name for whatever reason. Glitch in the system. I have no idea why. He put out a new article on Fox. Recommend reading it. Some good tidbits in there. But basically, the conclusion is the first-round pick is believed to be the asking price for Matthew Stafford. So I have a two-part question for you guys today. Obviously, the Browns won't trade number 2 for Matthew Stafford. There's no way, no chance, no shot in hell that they would trade number 2 for Matthew Stafford.
Justin thinks they could.
You think 2's on the table?
Well, I don't know if they could. We had a conversation on Bull and Fox today that we can get to it now if you want.
Yeah. Get to it.
I didn't think that. Let me set this up, Justin. You
ahead.
can start then. I didn't think there's a world where number 2 would be on the table. But 33 is a different question. Dustin, if you disagree and think number 2 is a possibility, enlighten me on why you think that, but I want to ask the rest of you guys.
I don't know.
If it was 33, would you do it?
I don't know that 2 is a realistic possibility. I just said that, like, I would love to have Matt Stafford, and I feel like he's much more of a sure thing than taking a rookie quarterback. Now the problem is you still got to pay him. You got to have a new contract, which is going to be a lot of money. And I was like, if you're going to draft a quarterback at 2, okay, well, what if you could have Matt Stafford? He's incredible. He's 37 years old.
Yep.
I still think he has a lot left in the tank, and I think he's somebody that could help change that culture. He's a Super Bowl champion. The guy's been in the league for a long time. He's super talented. That's the type of player I think you need to turn things around, and that would fast track the Browns to getting back to being a playoff contender like next year if he were on the roster. Again, it's a pipe dream because it's not going to happen.
How many games did he play, by the way, last year, Stafford?
Last season?
Yeah.
1 sec.
If you look that up. Just because I'm just looking at the numbers, and I need more context in terms of.
Matt Stafford last season played in 16 games.
Oh, okay. So he played the whole season, essentially.
Yeah, 16 games.
Yeah. So, those numbers are – the touchdown interception is not great, but you look at what he did overall – he was still a good quarterback. Not great, but he was still a pretty good, solid quarterback. Tyvis, what say you?
Would I trade the 33rd pick for him? I mean, yeah, in theory, yes. I don't think he wouldn't come off to me as a long-term solution. Like, he'd give you a 2-year window. Like, okay. But the thing about Matt Stafford, what rubs me a little bit the wrong way is the last time he was in an environment like Cleveland was Detroit, organization that historically wasn't winning a lot of games, and he wasn't that much of a difference maker. I think they went to the playoffs, once when he was there? Once or twice, maybe?
He never won a playoff game in Detroit. Right. I can't remember how many times he got there.
So my thing is, as great as he was, even with one of the greatest wide receivers we've ever seen, he still wasn't able to make things happen. It wasn't until he got to L.A. where I guess L.A. did it to where they built the rest of the team around, and they was just a quarterback away, and boom, they went and got a quarterback. Similarly to the Eagles, they had everything, they just needed a running back, and Saquon was the missing piece. When I look at the Browns, I know that the players come out and say we're a quarterback away, but I don't think Matt Stafford would come in here and the Browns instantly is a Super Bowl team. Like, I don't look at it that way. So, like I said, I think that it'd be fine, like for Kevin and Andrew Berry to keep their jobs for another couple of years. That would be fine, but I don't think that he's the piece that's going to take them to the Super Bowl. Like, I don't think he's the answer for that.
I would 100% not trade 2 for Matthew Stafford. I probably wouldn't trade 33 for Matt Stafford either. I could maybe consider it more, and there's a variety of reasons why I don't think Matthew Stafford to the Browns makes a lot of sense. I still think he's a good quarterback, clearly. There's still a little left in the tank. I just don't know how much. The reality is, outside of Tom Brady, who's played well at 40 years old, right? So usually guys are done 37, 38, 39. He could go off a cliff at any moment. Tom Brady was the only one really that defied that cliff. Mm-hmm. And so let's say
Favre was pretty good late, wasn't he?
But he never made it through a season. He kept getting hurt. With the Jets, he would tail off at the end of the year. Same thing happened with Minnesota. It's just so hard. He's had a lot of injuries. Plus, as you mentioned, you'd have to pay him. He's looking for a new contract. The Browns are in, obviously a very weird cap space because they're going to have to trade Myles Garrett. Now, if you traded for Stafford, you don't trade Myles Garrett.
Yeah, those two go hand in hand. He might
Right.
be enough to say, Myles, this is the answer. At quarterback, would you be willing to stay?
Now, if you want to tell me who gives the Browns the best chance to be competitive for the next, I'll say 2 years, I would say Matthew Stafford gives the Browns. There's nobody they can get that I can see, veteran or rookie, that will give them a better chance to win over the next 2 years than Matthew Stafford.
I agree.
Unfortunately, I think it's only 2 years, in my opinion. Again, you never know. Could be 3, could be 4. Who the hell knows? You have to pay him, which I don't know that they can even do that. He's got to be willing to, on some level, come here, because if he's going to work out a contract, it's got to be somewhere. And is he at 37 years old going to want to play in cold weather for the first time in his career?
He's never played in cold weather. He played college at Georgia. He got drafted to the Lions, played indoor with a dome.
He's from Texas.
And then he's from Texas, and then he gets to go to Los Angeles.
Right. So I can't imagine he's going to want to do that. You got to put up with his wife. You throw that in the mix.
You got to come to the AFC, and you've got Hall of Fame quarterbacks.
And that's it. Like, as good as much as I like Stafford, he's still good. He'd be the 7th or 8th best quarterback in the conference. So I just don't. There's really almost no chance. I hate to sound so pessimistic, but there's really no chance of the Browns being a Super Bowl contender in the immediate future. And the only hope of them becoming a Super Bowl contender anytime soon is if they hit on a young quarterback.
I mean, what's amazing about your statement there is that you said the Browns would have, with Matt Stafford, like the 7th best quarterback in the AFC, which is crazy because Matt Stafford's awesome.
Matt Stafford is awesome. He's still really good, but
think about this. Take it a step further.
Yeah.
If Matt Stafford couldn't win, and you're banking on a rookie to turn into one of those guys,
yes,
good luck.
Well, the odds of that happening
are also
very slim.
Are even slimmer.
But at least there's a chance and there's a future there. You may not hit on that quarterback until 3 years from now, 4 years. I mean, Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, Jackson. That's not even including Herbert. That's not even including Stroud. But those 4 guys, what are they all? About 27, 29? They're all somewhere
They're all under 30.
What's that?
They're all sub 30.
They're all sub 30. They're not going anywhere, any of those guys. So I think a stopgap measure like Stafford, even though he's the best possible stopgap measure, and could even possibly play at a Pro Bowl level. He didn't play at a Pro Bowl level last year, but he was still good. He could still play at a Pro Bowl level.
Thomas is dying.
It's just hopeless right now until you get that young player. Good luck.
No, but I think
I got him dying already.
I got a lot
Unintentionally.
Dusty crazy. Listen,
I'm not crazy. I'm realistic.
The thing is, when you talk about all these great quarterbacks in the AFC and how difficult it is, because at some point you got to beat a combination of Josh, Joe, Lamar, or Pat.
Yeah.
Right?
Herbert.
You might have to beat 3 of those guys.
Okay, or Herbert.
Or Herbert. Or Stroud. I mean, those 6 are...
So you got to beat a combination of like 3 out of the 4s, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyways, would you say... Okay, so obviously quarterback play, we always talk about how the quarterback play is the most important thing, and I agree with that statement.
Right.
Would you say that in the AFC, to make it to the Super Bowl, you should focus more on defense to trying to stop those guys and then get a good running game to keep the ball out of their hands?
I get what you're saying in theory.
Because trying to hit on a quarterback for us, it ain't happened. So like for us, would you say like, all right, let's just get us a serviceable guy, but have our run game be really good in our defense?
So
because that's how they got to the playoffs.
Okay, but
2 years ago.
To your argument, right, is people are going to say, well, look, the only team that beat the Chiefs was the team that had the best running back and a very good defense in Philadelphia, right?
Yes.
But if the Eagles had
Daniel Jones,
even better than that. If the Eagles had Geno Smith as their quarterback,
would they have won?
They wouldn't have won the Super Bowl. They wouldn't have gotten to the Super Bowl. You got Jalen Hurts.
That's not a good comparison because Geno can throw the ball really well.
Geno threw as many interceptions as he did touchdowns.
Yeah, but see the thing, the reason the Eagles beat the Chiefs this year is simply for the simple fact that the Chiefs went into that game and said, I don't care what happens. Number 26 is not beating us.
Right.
We are selling out on stopping 26.
Yes.
And they said, good, because we got 2 other receivers that can go, and we got a quarterback that can at least get them the ball. But that's all they have. So it's like it would be like if Nick Chubb was playing for the Browns when it was prime Nick Chubb. The Chiefs would have went into that game like, I don't care what's going on. We stop in 24. And if the quarterback and wide receivers can win, you got enough.
But here's the thing, Tyvis. Guys like that, Nick Chubb at his best, Saquon Barkley last year, there's not a lot of guys like that.
I agree.
There's almost none.
I agree.
And then you have to have
an
excellent defense.
Yeah.
And how many big-time defenses have there been in modern history? The Seahawks had it for a minute. The Eagles, the Eagles' defense last year is not an all-time defense. It's a very good defense.
Very good defense.
I still believe that when we went to the playoffs with Joe Flacco, I feel like the Browns would have been more successful if they would have had a healthy Nick Chubb. Because they would have you forcing quarterbacks to throw the ball more, and that's playing more into people's hands.
But their defense still got smoked in that game.
Yeah, they did. But I'm just saying it wouldn't have been as bad. I feel like at least take the ball.
Yeah, of course.
For example, this season we didn't have a run game again, so now you're forcing these quarterbacks to throw the ball 40, 50 times a game, and it's bad. Where all these other teams, you're not asking them to do all that because they have at least some type of running game.
But the problem is, even if you want to build it that way, let's say you do. Let's say you go all in on building it, defense, running game. We'll have some decent, just some guy, a quarterback, who's going to play smart, hand the ball off. We'll try to be the '85 Bears. We'll try to be the Ravens when they won the Super Bowl with Ray Lewis. Okay, well, you better get 4 or 5 Hall of Fame caliber defensive players. The Browns have 1, and he wants out. They have 1. Denzel Ward's their second best defender. He's not a Hall of Famer.
Hey,
good player,
easy,
Pro Bowler,
easy.
Not a Hall of Famer.
If the concussions held him, the injuries.
It is what it is. You talk about these great defenses. I mean, okay. Well, let's think about Seattle. How many Hall of Famers on that Seattle defense?
Sherm, Bobby.
Right.
I don't know if Cam's getting in. Earl,
that's 3 already.
I say just 3.
3. Who's their best defensive lineman?
Michael Bennett.
But he's not a Hall of Famer.
I wouldn't call him a Hall of Famer.
Okay, so 3. But he's not a.
Yeah,
so that's 3, and that's a low amount.
Yeah.
All right. You look at the '85 Bears. You look at the
2000 Ravens.
The 2000 Ravens. All those Giants teams back in the day. There's like 4, 5, 6 Hall of Famers on some of these teams. Mm-hmm. The Browns have 1. They have, even if you look at all Pro Bowl caliber players, they only have 3, and that's if JOK is healthy, and that's just Pro Bowl level.
JOK made a big difference,
right?
The defense
and that's the silent thing that nobody's talking about. We still ain't got. We need another. Even if Miles is gone, if JOK don't come back, man, oh man.
If they trade Miles and JOK can't play, like they might have one of the worst defenses in the league next year. So this idea of building some great defense, well, at the very least, if they hit all their draft picks, that's going to take 3 years. Which is same thing with quarterback.
We're still in the same boat.
Yeah, exactly.
Which goes back to what Bull said earlier, that Stafford could be the best possible option at bridge.
Yeah.
But it's a 2-year window, and the rest of the team may not be ready to be in a 2-year championship contending window to pair up with Stafford. Now, the one thing I want to mention with this that I do find kind of interesting is, and Dustin, you kind of alluded to this the other day, Stefanski and Berry are kind of in win-now mode. And if their mindset is we have to win to save our jobs, then the opportunity to trade for a guy like Stafford could be more appealing than a team that's drafting second overall, because most instances a team drafting second overall has a new regime coming in to then lead up to a rebuild. So that's kind of the one fork in the road here with the Browns situation. I think makes the Stafford stuff, even though it's probably unrealistic, a little more plausible considering the circumstances.
Well, think about it. Those are the guys that put together this roster that made the team, in their eyes, ready to compete for a Super Bowl right now. Because that's why they went after Deshaun Watson, because the roster in their mind was ready to win now. Okay, so what's changed? The roster's, I mean, a lot of it's the same, maybe overvalued by a lot of people, including ourselves. However, if they're still going to be here, and they are, they're not going to want to tear this thing down completely to the studs again. I don't think that they'll withstand it. I don't think that the Hasms will allow it. I don't think the fans will put up with it. So they're probably going to be in more of a win mode now, which is why the Stafford thing would be very interesting.
It would be. If I'm Jimmy Haslam, I'm not allowing Andrew Berry to make a trade that's good for this year but bad for the long term of the team. So if Andrew Berry came up to me and I was Jimmy Haslam and he said, "Hey, we're going to trade the second overall pick for Matthew Stafford," I'd fire him on the spot.
Man, I would, if I could get Stafford and it would be reasonably doable finance-wise, I would draft a quarterback like second, third round.
Honestly,
and let him learn a little bit.
If
from
knew,
Stafford.
I don't have a problem with that, but I'm not giving up the second overall pick.
This is what, if I knew that I was trading for Matthew, that's what I say. If I knew I was trading for Matthew Stafford, I'd trade the pick.
Yeah, trade out. Give someone Travis Hunter, and get you an extra first round.
I trade down in the draft, accumulate some picks, then trade the first pick to.
See, I would still want to not trade any more than 33 in that situation, because we need some first round young talent on this roster. They don't have any. Go ahead, Mike.
Any final thoughts on Stafford? We ready to move on?
We can move it. Keep it moving.
I don't think anybody.
Do you think that the Rams would do him like that? Because a lot of the times, a lot of players say that they get shipped to Cleveland to die. So, like, do you think after everything he did with the Rams,
he needs a new contract? I mean, he has some say because he doesn't have to sign. He can retire. He can do whatever the hell he wants to at this point.
If you look, we were talking about this on the podcast earlier. Seattle could make some sense for Stafford, although I don't know if they trade him within the division like that.
No.
If I'm Stafford and I am willing to go to a cold weather city, I hate to say this, I'd much rather go to Pittsburgh than Cleveland right now.
Yeah.
Because the Steelers just have a better roster than the Browns do outside of quarterback. And, maybe the Raiders. I think you suggested the Raiders.
I mean, if I'm going to the AFC, I'd want to be like in the AFC South.
Well, the Raiders in the West.
I know that. Yeah. I'm not saying the Raiders. I'm saying
give yourself a chance to win a division.
I'd want to go to Tennessee.
To give yourself a chance to win the division.
Maybe Tennessee trades the 32nd pick or whatever.
They have 35.
I'm sure his wife would like Nashville.
Yeah. Why is it? Is the Dolphins still suffering a penalty? Is that why it's 31 picks in the first round?
No, there's 32 in the first round.
Why did the Browns?
So the Browns got the 33rd pick, then?
To my understanding,
that's because it reverses. Because
if
it's a
all
tiebreaker.
3 teams are tied with the same record,
right?
It goes in a separate order of the first round.
Right.
The tiebreaker goes in a different way.
Yes.
So.